Salatul Jama'ah. الإمام الشوكاني said هي من آكد السنن وتنأكد باثنين وإذا كثر الجمع كان الثواب أكثر وتصح بعد المفضول والأولى أن يكون الإمام من الخيار ويؤم الرجل بالنساء لا العكس والمفترض بالمتنفل والعكس وتجب المتابعة في غير مبطل ولا يؤم الرجل قوما هم له كارهون ويصلي بهم صلاة أخفهم ويقدم السلطان ورب المنزل. This was where we stopped. ويقدم السلطان ورب المنزل. It says ويقدم السلطان ورب المنزل والأقرأ ثم الأعلم ثم الأسن وإذا اختلت صلاة الإمام كان ذلك عليه لا على المؤتمين به. إذا اختلت صلاة الإمام كان ذلك عليه لا على المؤتمين به. Says ويقدم السلطان. The person in authority should be pushed in front. وَرَبُّ الْمَنْزِلِ. And then the heads of homes. The head of the home should not be led in his home except by his permission. We read the hadith code. It says وَيُقَدَّمُ السُّلْطَانِ. The ruler, the person in authority should not be led. This issue will be better conceptualized and practiced if we take, for example, a state. We gave an example in the last class of a state governor. If a state governor comes into the masjid, he will lead the salah. Because the masjid is under his authority. So he will lead the salah if he is from the persons who can lead salah. Likewise, Salatul Jama'ah or Salatul Eid. In fact, some of the scholars say it's more emphasized with Eid and Jama'ah, Salatul Istisqa, and all these salawat that we make in a greater congregation than the congregation of Jummah, that yuqaddam as-sultan. From that also is the imam of a masjid. If we'll be discussing a number of people today too, like al-aqra'u wa a'lamu an-nas bis-sunnah, the one who better reads than all of us. So if we have someone who reads better than all of us, a hafiz of the entire Quran, and then we have the state governor in the masjid, and then we want to pray in an established masjid, who do we push forward? The sultan. We call them the sultan. As long as he can observe that salah correctly, we call them the sultan. And every person who has salah, don't forget, every person who has salah can lead others in salah. We mentioned this when we discussed the fact that وَتَصِحُّ بَعْدَ الْمَفْضُولِ. So it will be Salatul Mafdul, the salah that the one who is lesser in category in terms of the deen, in terms of Quran, in terms of the knowledge of to observe, leading those that are better than him in all of these. So that's why we read that وَتَصِحُّ بَعْدَ الْمَفْضُولِ. I think we discussed that there. So if we have a state governor, we have a hafiz, we want to observe salah, we have the imam of the masjid. So the first person out of these three to push forward is who? The governor. Lead us in salah. if he is not leading us in salah, the next person who has a haqqiyah, who is in a better position, is who? The imam of the masjid. Why? Because the masjid is under the sultan of the imam. The masjid is under the authority of the imam. The only person who has a greater authority over the imam is who? Such as a governor. Apart from the governor or somebody like that, maybe a president, the person who has authority in the masjid where there's an established imam is who? The imam of the masjid. I am saying this here and I would move a little bit forward around it. We have a culture, we have a practice we got used to over the time. If someone visits our masjid, we see him to be very learned, very, inshallah, pious. We want them to lead the salah. What is the ruling of this? Do they have a greater right to lead salah? Or when can they lead the salah? Let us quickly explain that. They can lead the salah if we permit them. We tell them, Bismillah, lead salah. So they will lead the salah and the salah is valid. But the imam of the masjid has a greater right over them in terms of right. So don't think that because he has come, he has a greater right. No. He is only leading upon the permission of who? The imam of the masjid. Let him not also think that he has a greater right. You should not think that he has a greater right. He too should not think that he has a greater right. If he wants to be a Salafi mahab, he should allow the people to lead their salah and follow them. Because the large majority of the scholars amongst the Sahaba, if you push them in front in your masjid, when they visit you, they will not lead the salah. This comes to the hadith of Malik ibn al-Huwayrith. This hadith occurs in Sunan Abi Dawud. It also occurs in Sunan Tirmidhi. And Al-Imam Ahmad also reported the hadith in his Musnad. One of the Tabi'un, Abu Atiyah, Mawla Bani Uqayl. I will come back to this issue. Abu Atiyah, Mawla Bani Uqayl, said that Kana Malik ibn al-Huwayrith, the Malik ibn al-Huwayrith radiyallahu anhu, Ya'tina fi musallana. He will visit us in our place of prayer. Yatahaddathu, and he will talk to us. Don't forget that Malik ibn al-Huwayrith was a learned person amongst the companions. He was the one who came, he spent 19 days with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with the rest of his people, and they returned home. So when he returned, he was teaching the people what he had learned from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's a fa'idah there. Spent 19 days. We say he's a learned person because he learned the Sunnah from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Today, you will find a brother spends 6 months, 7 months with a learned person learning. Some people will say, but time to me, Malik spent only 19 days. He became a learned person teaching the people what he had learned from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But amongst us today, if a person stays with a malam a month, 2 months, 3 months, learning, obtaining karatu, some people say, oh, that time is too small. He has learned. So don't say he has not learned. He has learned. The proof for that is this hadith of Malik. Malik stayed for 19 days. He became known among scholars as a scholar. The learned person, he has learned from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So wherever he went, he was teaching the people those same things that he had learned. Don't forget, he learned salah. The messenger told him, teach the people salah. So when he went, he was busy with teaching the people what? The salah of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So when you spend 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months learning, when you go back, teach the people what you have learned. That is when you will be following the Sunnah of Malik. So Malik will teach the people. So Abu Atiyah said, فَحَضَرَتِ الصَّلَاةُ يَوْمًا. One day as he thought, it became the time of Salah reached. فَقُلْنَا لَهُ تَقَدَّمْ. So he said to him, تَقَدَّمْ. Because he is a companion of the Prophet Muhammad. So go in front of us, lead us in Salah. A companion in the midst of people, everybody wanted him to lead. An eye or eyes that have seen the Prophet Muhammad lead us in Salah. And he was actually more learned than them. فَقَالَ لِيَتَقَدَّمْ بَعْضُكُمْ حَتَّى أُحَدِّثَكُمْ لِمَ لَا تَقَدَّمُ لِيَتَقَدَّمْ بَعْضُكُمْ. Let one of you lead the Salah. حَتَّى أُحَدِّثَكُمْ. So that subsequently, I will tell you, لِمَ لَا أَتَقَدَّمُكُمْ. Why will I not lead you, Salah? One of you should lead the Salah, and then subsequently I will tell you why I will not lead them Salah. And after the Salah, as is in the report of Al-Imam al-Tirmidhi, he said to the people, radiyallahu anhu, that سَمِعْتُ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ وَسَلَّمَ يَقُولُ. I heard the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam say, Man zara qawman, whoever visits a people, فَلَا يَأُمَّهُ, let him not lead them in Salah. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Anas Malik ibn al-Huwairi said, he heard him say, Man zara qawman, فَلَا يَأُمَّهُمْ, whoever visits the people should not lead them in Salah. He said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَلْيَأُمَّهُمْ رَجُلٌ مِّنْهُمْ. Let a man amongst those people lead them in Salah. مَنْ زَارَ قَوْمًا فَلَا يَأُمَّهُمْ. Whoever visits the people should not lead them. Man, this man includes you, Hafiz. Don't say awam, kufad, awam. Man is sigatul umum. It involves everybody. Don't tell me I'm learned. Malik ibn Huwairi is more learned than you. He's better than you a million times. Yet he refused to lead the people. He said, I will tell you why I will not lead you in Salah. And that reason is that I heard the messenger say, Man zara qawman, alayhi salatu wassalam. Whoever visits the people, fala ya'ummahum. Let him not lead those people in Salah. وَلْيَأُمَّهُمْ رَجُلٌ مِّنْهُمْ. Let a man amongst these people lead them in Salah. This discussion regarding this hadith will take two stages. The first stage is in the verification of this hadith. This hadith, the least ruling it will have is hadithun hasan. Because if you read one of the learned persons, inshallah, although he has issues regarding which verbally Shaykh Al-Albani spoke about his knowledge. May Allah forgive each and every one of us. Rahimahullah. He said he criticized his way of learning and writing. Shaykh Al-Albani, this person, Shaykh Al-Albani criticized his way of learning and writing. He said that is not the way of the people of knowledge. Verbally, he met some people from his town. He asked them, do you know so and so? Everybody said, we don't know. Oh, he started talking about it. He does this, he does this. In that case, I will only give reference to the book, L1, so that if you want to know his name. He said in his verification of Ad-Darrari al-Mudiyya, which is a sharh of Ad-Durar al-Bahiyya by Al-Imam Ash Shaykh regarding this hadith, he said, وَهُوَ ضَعِيفٌ. He said this hadith is da'if because Al-Imam Ash Shaykh used it as evidence in that book, Ad-Darrari. This person said that apart from Shaykh Al-Albani, another person who was quoting the knowledge of this person was one of our teachers, Shaykh Samir al-Zuhayri, Ibn Amin. I read it in his book, and he told me verbally, face to face to my ears, criticizing this person regarding his knowledge. This person said that this hadith is da'if. He says, Fihi Abu Atiyah. There is a person called Abu Atiyah, Mawla Bani Uqayl, who was a freed slave from Banu Uqayl. He is in that isnad. He is the one saying that he heard or he was there when Malik ibn al-Huwairis would come to their praying place. I hope that this point is still clear to this extent. This person said, قال Abu Hatim وابن المدينة لا يعرف. He said that Al-Imam Abu Hatim al-Razi, Muhammad ibn Idris, said that this reporter is not known. Likewise, Al-Imam Ali ibn al-Madini, they say that this reporter is not known. وقال أبو الحسن ibn al-Qattan, but Al-Imam ibn al-Qattan also said that Majhul, this reporter is an unknown reporter. So because of that, he said that this hadith is da'if. But this statement itself, yes, those scholars said what they have said. But his conclusion regarding the hadith itself is da'if. Why is it da'if? In Sunan al-Tirmidhi, after mentioning this hadith, Al-Imam al-Tirmidhi said, وَهَذَا حَدِيثٌ حَسَنٌ صَحِيحٌ. This hadith is what? Hasan Sahih. Likewise, Al-Imam Ibn Khuzaymah, he mentioned this hadith in Sahih ibn Khuzaymah. So ulama say, Sahahahu Tirmidhi wa Sahahahu Ibn Khuzaymah. Al-Imam Tirmidhi mentions this hadith Sahih, and Al-Imam Ibn Khuzaymah mentions this hadith Sahih. If you wonder why are we discussing this matter like this, we want to refute something we are used to doing. Some people will like to remain upon it. So if you cite this hadith and they can find anybody who says the hadith is da'if, they will quickly quote it. Do we get this point? So we want to say the hadith is not da'if, so that when we say to the people that man zara qawman fala ya'umma, whoever visits the people should not leave them in salah. وَلْيَأُمَّهُمْ رَجُلٌ مِّنْهُمْ, let one of them lead them in salah. This hadith is what we are talking about, and we are saying that it is an authentic hadith. The reason some of the people mention that it is weak is what we are addressing. That it is not something that is sufficient to make a hadith to be weak. I hope that this point is clear. It will help us affirm the treaty of what we say. And it will let the listener and the objective thinker know that what we are saying is right. There is the issue of that if we permit him, don't forget, we mentioned that at the beginning. But the basic rule is that he does not have a greater right over the imam of that masjid. He does not have a greater right. Abu Aisha. One big sheikh comes to this masjid. He went in front to lead the salah. Somebody said, what will you tell him? The basic rule is that man zara qawman fala ya'um, whoever visits the people should not leave them in salah. Wal ya'ummahum rajulun minhum, let one man amongst them lead them. And you are the imam of the masjid, you are the governor of this masjid. You should not be led under your authority without your permission. So if you don't give the permission, it means the right still remains with you. It still remains with the imam. The imam should not think, I've done something big, they will finish me today. Likewise, that big sheikh too should not think that, Let them not think. The two of them should not think like that. This is the reason we are saying what we are saying. That the Messenger said, alayhi salatu wasalam, Man zara qawman fala ya ummam. Wal ya ummahum rajulun min. But we have to affirm that the hadith is sahih. And then we depend on it. So the reason for a query that has been placed on the hadith is Abu Atiyya Mawla Bani Uqayl. This reporter who reported it from Malik ibn al-Huwairis. Some of the scholars say he is not known. This is what we are addressing. So how do you say a hadith reported by an unknown reporter is reliable? Is what we are saying. That yes, you can say that this hadith, this hadith is reliable. Why? The first reason for mentioning its reliability is the fact that Al-Imam al-Tirmidhi mentions the hadith Hasanun Sahih. Likewise, Al-Imam Ibn Khuzaymah Sahah al-Hadith. These two scholars grade this hadith authentic. So you can ask another question. What does that mean? For a talib al-ilm who has learned the basics of al-jarh wa al-ta'dil, this is what they refer to as tawfiq al-dimni. What do they call it? Tawfiq al-dimni. An indirect way of saying that Abu Atiyya is a reliable reporter. It means Imam al-Tirmidhi is saying, dimniyan ala tariqatin ghayri mubashar, that Abu Atiyya Mawla Bani Uqayl is what? Fiqh. Who is also saying that too? Ibn Khuzaymah. These are from the A'imah. So this is one quick reference. Imam al-Tirmidhi grades it authentic. Al-Imam Ibn Khuzaymah also grades it authentic. Okay. Should we then now accept the gradings of these Imams? To grade a reporter who's been mentioned to be unknown, should we accept their grading? Say yes, we should accept their grading. There is qaida regarding that. Even when Ali ibn al-Madini and Abu Hatim had said that La yu'raf is unknown, and then At-Tirmidhi and then Ibn Khuzaymah come back and grade the hadith sahih. Should we rely upon that kind of tawfiq continually from a person like Al-Imam Tirmidhi and Al-Imam Ibn Khuzaymah? Say yes. Who said so? Al-Imam al-Zahabi, rahimahullah. And I'm mentioning this so that my brothers will gain beyond just listening to the hadith. And I want you all to go back to Al-Muqibah when you get back home. So I'm citing from Al-Muqibah by Imam al-Zahabi rahimahullah. This is from the Sharh of Shaykh Hatim, Abu Hatim, Sharif Hatim al-Awli, Shaykh Sharif Hatim al-Awli, a resident of Makkah. He's a known scholar of hadith, inshallah. This is his tahqiq on the page 192. Al-Imam al-Zahabi says rahimahullah, as-siqatu, the reliable reporter of hadith, man wasaqahu kathirun wa lam yudha'af, wasaqahu kathirun wa lam yudha'af. The reliable person who reports a hadith that is sahih is the person that wasaqahu kathirun. Many of the scholars of hadith say that he is trustworthy, he is trustworthy, he is trustworthy. Even though to say that somebody is trustworthy does not require a large number. إِذَا وَثَّقَهُ مُعْتَبَرٌ يُعْتَمَدُ عَلَيْهِ. If any of the reliable scholars who grade people trustworthy or untrustworthy, not trustworthy, mentions a reporter to be trustworthy, we rely on him. But he says كَثِيرٌ مَنْ وَثَّقَهُ كَثِيرٌ وَلَمْ يُضَعَفْ. So this is the fiqh, and he is not being mentioned to be da'if. This is the fiqh. He says, وَدُونَهُ, a bit lesser than that. مَنْ لَمْ يُوَثَّقْ, is the reporter who has not been graded to be reliable. ولا ضعف ولا ضعف لم يوثق ولا ضعف. It's not been graded trustworthy and he's not been said to be ضعيف. This is the condition of Abu Atiyah. Says la yuraf, we don't know. Whether it's thicker or not, we don't know. His level is lower than the level of a person نص على توثيقه, who is mentioned clearly by the scholars to be thick. The first level is that. The second level below these ones are he's not been mentioned to be a thick, and they've not said that he's da'if. So Imam Zahabi said, فَإِنْ خُرِّجَ حَدِيثُ هَذَا فَإِنْ خُرِّجَ حَدِيثُ هَذَا. If the report of this kind of a person who has not been said to be trustworthy, neither has he been said to be weak, if his hadith is mentioned في الصحيحين in Sahih al-Bukhari wa Muslim, فهو موثق بذلك. The fact that Bukhari and Muslim have both reported, or Muslim, or the both of them have both reported this hadith, فهو موثق بذلك. That itself is sufficient evidence that he is a trustworthy reporter of hadith. I hope that this point is clear to this place. And Imam al-Zahabi continues. He says, وَإِنْ صَحَّحَ لَهُ مِثْلُ التِّرْمِذِي وَابْنُ خُزَيْمَةَ فَجَيِّدٌ أَيْضًا. Imam al-Zahabi. He says, وَإِنْ صَحَّحَ لَهُ. If al-Imam al-Tirmidhi or Ibn Khuzaymah, مثلهم, he says, وَإِنْ صَحَّحَ لَهُ مثل الترمذي وابن خزيمة. If a person like a Tirmidhi وابن خزيمة and al-Imam مثل ابن خزيمة صحح له, grade a hadith in which we have this reporter. We know everybody except him. Is the one we don't know. Is he a reliable reporter or not? Yes, At-Tirmidhi comes to say the hadith is sahih. What he is saying is that that reporter is a reliable reporter. That's why Imam al-Zahabi says, فَجَيِّدٌ أَيْضًا. That is also a good thing for us. Ulama say, Jayyid is even greater than Hasan al-Hadith, even though it is lesser than Sahih. So if they say Fiqh, they give a nafs, is a reliable reporter of Hadith. This means that his Hadith will be Sahih. But they didn't say anything. But At-Tirmidhi comes, or someone like Ibn Khuzaymah comes and then says that his hadith is sahih, and he is the only one we don't know in the entire chain of reports. He is the only person, we don't know him. Al-Imam al-Zahabi says, rahimahullah, فَجَيِّدٌ أَيْضًا وَنَادَى. It's also a good one. This is a point of reference. I like Ikhwa to go back to Al-Muqila for this fire. From this point to the end of the book, to the end of Al-Muqila, contains fawaid you won't find in other books of Mustalah. Al-Muqila. These small fawaid, if you read this chapter down, you see a lot of it. The Shaykh Al-Albani uses them a lot, rahimahullah. And the people will be quoting, how did he get that? It was from Al-Imam al-Zahabi, rahimahullah. So we are also saying that Abu Atiyah, Mawla, Bani Uqay, is also Jayyidun, Fahuwa Jayyidun Aidan, because of this qaida. That's why if you go to Sahih Sunan Abi Dawud, Shaykh Al-Albani wrote the hadith Sahih, rahimahullah. And the first thing he mentioned while grading the hadith Sahih says, وَقَدْ صَحَّحَهُ التِّرْمِذِي وَابْنُ خُزَيْمَةَ. Al-Imam al-Tirmidhi mentions it Sahih. Al-Imam Ibn Khuzaymah mentions it Sahih. What do they mention to be Sahih? The statement of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that man zara qawman fala ya'ummahum. Whoever visits the people should not lead them. Wal ya'ummahum rajulun minhum. A man from amongst the people should rather lead the salah. So the least ruling you can pick from this hadith is to say that it is Hasan. Least. But Shaykh Al-Albani has graded the hadith Sahih. After reporting this hadith, Al-Imam al-Tirmidhi said, وَالْعَمَلُ عَلَى هَذَا عِنْدَ أَكْثَرِ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ من أصحاب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وغيرهم والعمل على هذا عند أكثر أهل العلم. And this was the action and deeds. Their actions and deeds were based on this hadith. Who are those people? أكثر أهل العلم, the large majority of the scholars, من أصحاب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم, amongst the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam وغيرهم, and others apart from them. قالوا, they say, صاحب المنزل أحق بالإمامة من الزائر. Those are صاحب المنزل أحق بالإمامة, they have a greater right to lead the salah من الزائر than the person who is only visiting them. وَقَالَ بَعْضُ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ, yet some others amongst the scholars say, إِذَا أَذِنَ لَهُ, if the imam amongst the people of the home, or the person who heads the home, أَذِنَ لَهُ, gives him that permission, فَلَا بَعْسَ أَنْ يُصَلِّيَ بِهِ, then there is no blame that he leads them in salah, or that he leads the salah in that place. So if we, the Ummah, say, oh, Bismillah, la bas, but ahakiyah, rightfulness, who has a greater right? It is those who are at home. Imam al-Tirmidhi calls it, he says, وَالْعَمَلُ عَلَى هَذَا عِنْدَ أَكْثَرِ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ مِنْ أَصْحَابِ النَّبِيِّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم. This is the way that the large majority of the scholars amongst the companions of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, this is their view regarding this matter. What is that view? If a visitor, big sheikh, visits us, he does not have a greater right to lead us unless we say, Apa, Bismillah. So he should not think, oh yes, he should not think like that. Neither should we think, none of us should think like that. The person who has a greater right are those who, Sahib al-Manzil, he has a greater right, min al-Za'irin, than those who visit them in that location. So I hope that this point is clear to us. We do it a lot. You hear some people Musafir, lead your salah, Imam. You have a greater right. Lead the salah. Don't ask us. Then Al-Imam al-Shawkani says, he says, وَيُقَدَّمُ السُّلْطَانِ وَرَبُّ الْمَنْزِلِ. So what we just discussed falls under these two. The Sultan has a greater right than the visiting big sheikh. Rabb al-Manzil has a greater right than visiting a big sheikh. He has a greater right. And he must not lead them in salah except what? By their permission. Then he says, Rahimahullah, وَالْأَقْرَأُ ثُمَّ الْأَعْلَمُ ثُمَّ الْأَسَلُّ. وَالْأَقْرَأُ, after that, the best of them, the most, Al-Aqra'u, the one who reads the Quran best amongst them. Wal-Aqra'u, the one who memorizes the most of the Quran amongst them. We'll come back to this issue. Wal-Aqra'u thumma al-A'lamu. Because we can go on to say, which one should we put forward? Someone has memorized the entire Quran. Someone has memorized only 1/3 of the Quran, but his recitation is better than the first one. Who is the Aqra'u amongst them? The one who has memorized the entire Quran, or the one who reads 1/3 better than him? He only memorized 1/3, but his 1/3 is stable, clean, neat, better than the one who has memorized the entire Quran. So for ayyuhuma al-aqra'u, who amongst the both of them is better in reading? We will come back to it. Because whatever you say now, you must be able to prove it. So we'll come back to it, inshallah. So Imam Shawkani says, wal aqra'u. Then the aqra'u amongst them. We'll come back to it. Thumma al-a'lamu. Then if they are all equal in qira'ah, as we shall explain, then al-a'lamu, the most learned, the sunnah of course, the most learned in the sunnah should lead the salah. Thumma al-asannu. If they are also near or equal in their knowledge, then al-asannu, the elder, most amongst them should lead the salah. They are equal in qira'ah. They are equal in sunnah, in knowledge of fiqh and sunnah. Then in that case, the one who is older amongst them, or oldest amongst them, should lead the salah. Don't forget, that is not in we are not talking about a masjid that has an imam. Imam is not there now. The sultan is not there now. Then it is not in somebody's house. Or in somebody's house, but the Rabbul Manzil is not at home. The head of the household is not there. It could be amongst your children. 7 boys. They want to observe Salah. You, their father, you are not around. You have the greater right to lead them in Salah. So how then do they choose someone among them to lead the Salah? It says Al-A'lamu, Al-Aqra'u, the best in recital. We'll come back to that. Summa al-A'lamu, if they are all equal, all of them, Hufaz. May Allah make it easy for all of us to have children who will be Hufaz. Somebody say, all my male children are Hufaz. I've only met one person who said that to me. That is Yakarabi. May Allah forgive him. He had a lot of issues though. He was drenched in Sufiya. He is one of their arbab, one of their lords in Kano. So we visited him with some brothers one day. While he was talking, he said, all my children are Hufaz of Quran. He said, and there are many. I'm sure his children will not be less than 30. Yes. Go and find out. From the aspects of richness and wealth is to have a lot of children. You don't know. When we are younger than this, my father would say, when we read Daily Times, you know Daily Times? The Daily Times newspaper. When they advertise obituary, they will say it's survived by the following. They will not list the children. My father will say, you see, they didn't list the cars. They didn't list the houses. They didn't list the certificates. What will they list? Children! He said, those are the rich. So that's why you see people who say, I don't have more than 3 children. Disturbing them. I don't have more than 5 children. It is either disturbing you because you are afraid of it. Shaitan is using poverty to harass you. What does Allah say in the Quran? Ash Shaykh Shaitan is harassing you with poverty. And because his money too, be about money. So he's afraid, I don't have more than 3 children. Okay. How will I take care of them? Shaitan is deceiving you. If you are really rich and really blessed with wealth, you don't have that problem. You have, because you understand that you see the difference now. And if you see issue just issue you put on there and change the U to I. So the man said all his children were Hufaz of Quran. It's a virtue. So these children, the father is not around. They want to choose amongst them who to lead them in Salah. How do they choose? We'll come back to it. Then they are all equal in Quran, in everything regarding Quran. Whatever you want to say, they will be responding amongst themselves. Then a'lamuhum bis-sunnah. The most learned in the sunnah. Maybe some of them have memorized Umdatul Ahkam. Some did not. Those who memorized the ayah in front, if they are equal in Qira'ah. Or some memorize Bukhari and Muslim. Those who memorize Bukhari and Muslim in front. The others will just step backwards. A'lamuhum bis-sunnah. Memorize and understand. We'll come back to it. A'lamuhum bis-sunnah. If they are all not still equal in sunnah, fal-asal, thumma al-asal, then the oldest amongst them, if this brother has not memorized like those younger ones, he should not go in front of the younger ones will go in front. So this is the point we want to explain now. And we have two hadiths we'll be using. The first hadith is the hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu anhu. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu anhu reported that the Prophet said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِذَا كَانُوا ثَلَاثَةً, when the people are three. The Prophet said three because the question he was answering was regarding three people. It will be clear to us in the second hadith. So إِذَا كَانُوا ثَلَاثَةً, when the people are three, فَلْيَأُمَّهُمْ أَحَدُهُمْ, let one of them go in front, the two of them will stay behind him. وَأَحَقُّهُمْ بِالْإِمَامَةِ أَقْرَأُهُ, أَحَقُّهُمْ بِالْإِمَامَةِ أَقْرَأُهُ, and the most rightful of them to lead them in salah is which one? أَقْرَأُهُ, the one who is أَقْرَأُهُ. We will explain what أَقْرَأُهُم means. The one who is best in the reading of the Quran, أَقْرَأُهُ, literally. But we will explain what it means, inshallah. So أَقْرَأُهُ, the one most learned in the Quran in terms of reading and understanding, should lead the people in salah. This hadith occurs in Sahih Muslim. Imam al-Nasa'i has also reported the hadith. The second hadith is the hadith of Abu Mas'ud al-Ansari. Don't forget. So if I say the hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, you know the hadith I mean. Wherein the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَأَحَقُّهُمْ بِالْإِمَامَةِ أَقْرَأُهُمْ, the most rightful of the people to lead them in salah is أَقْرَأُهُمْ. The second hadith is the hadith of Abu Mas'ud al-Ansari, wherein Al-Badri rahimahullah, radiyallahu anhu, in which the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, يَأُمُّ الْقَوْمَ أَقْرَأُهُمْ لِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ. يَأُمُّ الْقَوْمَ, al-qawm, the people should be led. We are coming back to it. The people, whether they have doctors, engineers, whether there are blind people amongst them, whether there are slaves amongst them, whether there are children amongst them that were born out of wedlock. يَأُمُّ الْقَوْمَ, the people, no matter who the constituents of the people are, the people, يَأُمُّ الْقَوْمَ أَقْرَأُهُمْ لِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ, the most reciting, the best in the recital amongst them. فَإِنْ كَانُوا فِي الْقِرَاءَةِ سَوَاءً, but if they are all equal regarding Qira'atul Quran, فَأَعْلَمُهُمْ بِالسُّنَّةِ, then the most learned of them regarding the Sunnah should lead the Salah. فَإِنْ كَانُوا فِي السُّنَّةِ سَوَاءً, if they are equal regarding the Sunnah, فَأَقْدَمُهُمْ هِجْرَةً, then the first of them to make hijrah should be led, should be allowed to lead. We'll come back. We'll explain all of these better, inshallah. Then he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, فَإِنْ كَانُوا فِي الْهِجْرَةِ سَوَاءً, if they are also equal, they make hijrah at the same time. We'll explain, inshallah. فَأَقْدَمُهُمْ سِنًّا, then the foremost of them regarding his age should lead the people in salah. And then he said, alayhi salatu wasalam, وَلَا يَؤُمَّنَّ الرَّجُلُ الرَّجُلَ فِي سُلْطَانِهِ وَلَا يَقْعُدُ فِي بَيْتِهِ عَلَى تَكْرِمَتِهِ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِهِ. We read this part of the hadith in the last class. So then, what does al-aqra'u mean? We say one of them is aqra'u. What does it mean? Al-Imam al-Qurtubi explains, Abu Abbas, in his Sharh of Sahih Muslim, He said, rahimahullah, وَمَحْمِلُهُ أَنَّهُ, the understanding of this hadith is that إِذَا اجْتَمَعَ جَمَاعَةٌ, if a group of people are gathered, صَالِحُونَ لِلْإِمَامَةِ, and all of them can perform the salah correctly, they are all suitable to the imam. فَكَانَ أَحَدُهُمْ أَكْثَرَ قُرْآنًا, but one of them أَكْثَرَ قُرْآنًا, has more Quran. So أَقْرَأُهُ is أَكْثَرُهُ قُرْآنًا. There's hadith that affirms this. The hadith of Amr ibn Salama, in which the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, فَلْيَأُمَّهُمْ أَكْثَرُهُمْ قُرْآنًا. The one with the more Quran should lead the people in Salah. So now we can answer the question we left behind. Somebody memorizes the whole Quran. Somebody memorizes 1/3. But this brother with 1/3 has better pronunciation, has better voice, and his heels is more stable than the one who has memorized the entire Quran. Who should lead the Salah? The one who has memorized the entire Quran. لماذا؟ لأنه أكثرهما قرآنا. He has more Quran than the two, amongst the two of them. So the first thing to look at in أقرأهم is what? أكثرهم قرآنا. The one who has more Quran than the rest. Even though the rest may have better Isqan and bones than him, أكثرهم قرآنا should lead them. What is the proof? The hadith of Amr ibn Salama, in which the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, فَلْيَأُمَّهُمْ أَكْثَرُهُمْ قُرْآنًا. The one who has more of the Quran should lead the people. So أَقْرَأُهُمْ means what? أَكْثَرُهُمْ قُرْآنًا. The one who has more Quran amongst the people should lead them in Salah. So he said, rahimahullah, فَكَانَ أَحَدُهُمْ أَكْثَرَ قُرْآنًا كَانَ أَحَقُّهُمْ بِالْإِمَامَةِ. He is the one who is most rightful to be made the Imam. Aktharun Nasi Qur'ana. The one who has more Quran. He's memorized more than the rest. So if you ask, how many did you have? 20 Jews, 30 Jews, 25 Jews. Those who have 5 Jews should keep quiet. Bismillah, lead Salah. Those are, we do allow. You have finished the Quran. One of them has finished Muraja. The other one is still making Muraja. Which of them is Aksaruhum Quran? The one who has finished Muraja should listen. Not the one still making Muraja. I hope that this point is clear. Then he said, Rahimahullah, لِلْمَزِيَّةِ الْحَاصِلَةِ فِيهِ. Because of the uniqueness that is established with him. What is that uniqueness? He memorized the entire Quran. It's unique amongst the people. He says, فَلَوْ كَانُوا قَدْ اسْتَظْهَرُوا الْقُرْآنَ كُلَّهُ. لَوْ كَانُوا, but if still amongst them, all of them, قَدْ اسْتَظْهَرُوا الْقُرْآنَ كُلَّهُ, they have all memorized the entire Quran. All of them have memorized the Quran. فَيُرَجَّحُ مَنْ كَانَ أَتْقَنُهُمْ قِرَاءَةً. يُرَجَّحُ مَنْ كَانَ أَتْقَنُهُمْ قِرَاءَةً. We will push forward, we will give preference to who amongst them has better itqan, better perfection in his recital. وَأَضْبَطُ لَهَا. He is more stable in his recital. وَأَحْسَنُ تَرْتِيلًا. And it's more flowing in his recital. We pick that one. They all memorize Quran. They all can read Quran. Equal in this. Okay? We pick the one with a better recital, more stable in his hymns. And when he recites the Quran, the flow of his recital is better than the flow in the rest of the people who push him forward to lead the Salah. So Aqra'uhum has 2 levels. Aqsaruhum Qur'anan wa mada wa atqanuhum dabta. Or qira'atan. So the first thing to look at, large hymns. After that, what do you look at? It's gone. Perfect qira'ah than the rest. So you have 3 boys. You have 4 boys, 5 boys. All memorizers of the Quran. Who is the best of them in his itqan? The best of them in dhabt? The best of them in tarteel, in slow qiyah? Is the one who should go in front. We are talking about a hakiya who has greater rights. If a lower person leads, the better person is salah. The salah is valid and there is no sin. But we are talking about who has the greater right to lead the salah. I hope that the point is clear. Al-Imam al-Qurtubi explained that. He says, فَهُوَ الْأَقْرَأُ بِالنِّسْبَةِ إِلَىٰ هَؤُلَاءِ. So the person who has greater dhabt, better tarteel, better itqan, فَهُوَ الْأَقْرَأُ. He is the best in the recital, بِالنِّسْبَةِ إِلَىٰ هَؤُلَاءِ, with respect to the Jama'ah that we are talking about. I hope that this point is clear. فَلْيَأُمَّهُمْ أَقْرَأُهُمْ لِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ has two meanings. أَقْرَأُهُمْ يعني أَكْثَرُهُمْ قُرْآنًا فَإِنْ كَانُوا فِي الْإِتْقَانِ سَوَاءً. If they في الهمز سواء. If they are all in hymns, they are in the same level. Who are we going to push for? أَتْقَنُهُمْ قِرَاءَةً. Then we'll come to the level, okay, others, you know that who is better than the other. Let's use this one. We push him forward. I hope that this point is clear. If this person who is better in Qira'ah, what if he is a blind man? Is it possible to find a blind man better than the entirety of the brothers here? We have about close to 200, 250 brothers. Women. And now we find that we want to lead the salah. There are a lot of our brothers, mashallah, who memorize the Quran. And it will now be that a brother who is not seeing with the two eyes on his head is the one who is better than us. He is top of us. So this is the one who is at the bottom of Qira'atan, wa atqanuna dhabtan, wa tartilan. We push him forward. We will not say because he does not see. And he is not saying in a defect, so he should not lead us in salah. No, we will not say that. There are people among the scholars of fiqh who say that, but it's a wrong view. It's a wrong view. Some people who say even say the most handsome should lead. Shaykh Muhammad ibn Adam al-Ethiopi even say that some people say, some scholars say, Muhammad ibn Adam al-Ethiopi in the 14th volume in his Sharh of Sahih Muslim, while explaining this hadith, he said some people even say, Aksaruhum jisma. Whoever the bigger body should lead the salah. Some say no, the one whose parents are more noble should lead the salah. And their brothers, akramakumullah, some people say the one with the largest male organ should lead the salah. You have these views. They are mentioned in the books of fiqh. So Sheikh said in reputation. So how do you do that? Sheikh was refuting angrily. One of the things that lead people to these kinds of views is staying away from Nusus al-Quran wal Hadith. You want to learn fiqh from Hadith. Because that is the meaning of fiqh. Fiqh is what is understood from the Quran and the Sunnah. And the rulings that these two things contain. They have ijma. Ijma itself is from the fiqh of Quran and Hadith. You affirm ijma as a source of Sharia from Quran and Hadith. You establish ijma. You establish qiyas. Every other thing is based on Quran and Sunnah. So fiqh is what the rulings you deduce from the Quran and the Sunnah. But today we know what people call fiqh. Our far we in fiqh. Asia Nabi we in fiqh. And that is bad. So when people take fiqh to be what people feel, what some people have written down, not necessarily nusus al-Shari'iyah. Then you be saying funny views like this. If you go to the books of fiqh, you see more funny things. Part of it is when they say that a child born out of wedlock cannot lead the salah. We are coming back to it. Inshallah. We read it in books of fiqh in Malikiyah. It's in Al-Mudawwana of Malik. A child born out of wedlock should not lead the salah. وَإِنْ كَانَ أَقْرَأَنَا, even if he's the best of us in recital, he knows the Quran more than all of us. And then he reads it better than all of us. His Itqan, his Tarqi is better than all of us. So the only sin he will commit is one sin that his mother committed. وَلَا تَزِرُ وَازِرَةٌ وِزْرَ أُخْرَى. You are transferring blame upon him. This was the same answer that Aisha gave radiallahu anha regarding this issue that I'm talking about. When she was asked about it, she said, child born out of wedlock should leave the salah. Why do you want to transfer the blame of his parents or father and mother over to him? He does not have any blame. It is the father and mother, the one who fathered and the mother who has issues, not him. So it is the best and the most learned person. What prevents him from being the imam? Because the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ya ummul qawm aqra'u li kitabillah. The people should be led by the most learned in Quran. And don't forget that this Quran, inna Allah la yarfa'u bihadha al-kitabi aqwaman. Allah uses it to raise people. So if it has been done by a father and mother out of wedlock, Allah has used the Quran to do what? To raise him. So he does not have any blame. So why do you want to put him down? We are coming back to that. The same thing applies to the blind person. Come on, Baba, they say, I want to look for that. Many of the scholars have said so before today. Al-Imam Ibn al-Munzir passed away 318 AH, 318 Hijrah. Ibn al-Munzir, Muhammad ibn Ibrahim, Abu Bakr ibn al-Munzir. He passed away 318. So don't say, Abu Bakr, you know the one for Tamali, now they came to ask Banis, she said, 14 what are we? 1439. It has been said more than 1,000. Now, we are in 1440. Allahu Akbar. It's been said more than 1,100 years ago. A child that is born out of wedlock can lead salah. A blind man can lead salah. A slave can lead salah. As long as he's the one that these conditions come upon him, push him forward. And Imam Ibn al-Munzir said, rahimahullah, regarding the blind person, Imamatul A'ma ka Imamatul Basir. That a blind person leads salah, it's like that the one who has the two eyes open on his head. Leads salah, there's no difference. It's la farqa baynahuma. There's no difference between the two leading. وَهُمَا دَاخِلَانِ فِي ظَاهِرِ قَوْلِ النَّبِيِّ صلى الله عليه وسلم. The both of them fall under the same statement of the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم that يَأُمُّ الْقَوْمَ أَقْرَأُهُمْ لِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ. The person who should lead the people in Salah is أَقْرَأُهُمْ لِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ. We know what أَقْرَأُهُمْ means. The one who has more Quran, if they are equal in more Quran, then the one who better reads the Quran should lead the people in Salah. He said, rahimahullah, فَأَيُّهُمْ كَانَ أَقْرَأُ. Any of the two of them, any of the people, whether the person who has eyes, whether the person who is blind, any one of these two, who is better in his reading of the Quran, كَانَ أَحَقُّ بِالْإِمَامَةِ. That is the person who has a greater right to be what? To be the Imam. That occurs in the book Al-Awsat, the fourth volume, volume 4, page 173, Al-Awumeri. Likewise, a slave. From amongst the proofs that affirms that a blind person can lead the salah wasn't the Prophet ﷺ making Ibn Maktoum the Imam of the people when he went out of Medina? The Prophet ﷺ, he did that twice. He made Amr ibn Maktoum to be the Imam of the people twice, and he was Imam who was not seen. Likewise, Malik ibn Itban, he was leading his people in Salah and he was a blind man. Abdullah ibn Abbas, he went blind in the later part of his life and he was still leading the people in Salah. So that the person does not see with the two eyes on his head does not mean that he should not be allowed to lead the salah if he is a person who is having more Quran and better in his recitation than the rest of us. Likewise, a slave. And Imam Ibn al-Munzir said, rahimahullah, that imamatul abdi jaizatun, that a slave leads the salah is allowed. He says, فَإِذَا اسْتَوَوْا فِي الْقِرَاءَةِ فَالْحُرُّ أَحَقُّ بِالْإِمَامَةِ مِنَ الْعَبْدِ. But if they are all equal in the recital and all of these that we have mentioned, then you can start saying, okay, the person who is a freeborn should lead the salah. If they are all equal in all of these. He says, وَإِنْ كَانَ الْعَبْدُ أَوْلَى بِالْإِمَامَةِ. He says, فَالْحُرُّ أَحَقُّ بِالْإِمَامَةِ مِنَ الْعَبْدِ. The freeborn has a greater right to lead the salah than the slave. He says, but if it is the slave, I admitted something in that writing. He said, rahimahullah, when كان العبد أقرأ, I didn't put أقرأ, I admitted it in the writing. Was why I went back to the text itself. He said, when كان العبد أقرأ, but if it is the slave that is a better reader, فهو أولى, then he is more preferred بالإمامة to lead the people in Salah لحديث أبي سعيد, because of the hadith of Abu Sa'id. He said, وأحقهم بالإمامة أقرأهم لكتاب الله. The one who has a greater right to lead the Salah is the one who is best in Salah. Don't say, ẹrú ni èèyàn kò lè jẹ́ limamu, ẹrú ni jẹ́ limamu, tó bá ṣe kó ló mọ Kùránì kájù, ẹrú lè jẹ́ limamu. I think that is regarding the slave. Likewise, young boys, Yorùbá, àwọn bàbá àgbàlagbà máa ń ní àwọn ọmọ kéékèèké ní mọ́sáàsì wọn. This practice is bad. Where we come from here, elderly people send children away from masjid. But when they see them play football, they leave them. When those soldiers come to the masjid, they say, "Come on, ita." Ẹ̀sìn àwọn náà lẹ́ẹ̀kan máa kírun ní mọ́sáàsì. But as the hadith they follow, they say, "Jẹ́nìbù Sibyanakum masajidakum." This hadith is very weak hadith. It says, send away your little one from your masjid. So when will they start learning how to pray? If you send them away. And you are expected to command them to pray, to encourage them to pray from age 7. To command them to pray from age 7. Before that 7, you don't expect that they should learn how to pray. So you send them out of the masjid. Before 7, when will you teach them how to pray? And many of the fathers these days don't have time to teach their children how to pray. Oh God, my own key. Bó ni ó ṣe kọ́ ọmọ nírun? Bàbá tí ò bá wọn kí bó ni ó ṣe kọ́ ọmọ nírun? Ọmọ bá tí wọn wọ́n mọ́sáàsì alẹ́ ìta. This is bad. So it means it is far-fetched to now think that our people will bring a little young boy in front of Imam. There's a problem. Is the best of us, has memorized the entire Quran, and his Quran is clean and neat, they will not make him lead Salah. Why? Obadeni. And some of we brothers, our children in front, we start going back to Yoruba adage. Ishwani kili, Ishwani ba. So they will not allow the boys to lead the Salah. You ask him whether that adage he has quoted is a hadith. So I said, you know, you don't want people to see the fadl that Allah has given this little young boy. So if it is a little young boy that is aqra'una, ahfazuna, aqsaruna Qur'anan, فَلْيَأُمَّنَا, let us allow him in our Salah. Can make him the Imam. Some Sahabas did so, radiyallahu anhu. We remember the hadith of Amr ibn Salam. The hadith is lengthy. I won't read it to us. I'll phrase the hadith. I've mentioned this hadith a number of times. This companion, Amr ibn Salama, was a little young boy. Their community tarried behind. They did not quickly accept Islam from the Prophet Muhammad. They are waiting. We will see whether he will be successful. But they were on the way to Medina. So when the people are going to the Prophet, they pass by their city to go and reach the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they have a well. People always rest near the well. Travelers like take water, have their bath, make wudu, and then proceed on the journey. So the children will be asking those people who are resting amongst the companions, that man you went to meet, what is he saying? What is he teaching you? The people will be reading the Quran. So the children, yes, they are children of Mushrikun, but they are memorizing the Quran. Do you understand? It's like some people are traveling from Lagos to Ilorin, they pass through Oshobo. They can stop here, and then the children begin to go to them. Who are you? Where are you going? You is that, da. So those people believe he teaches us to say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Those children will be memorizing those things. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. So they will memorize it. This little young boy, he was just 6 years old at the time. Amr ibn Salam. He said at that time I was memorizing the Quran. Just listening to the companions read it, he memorized it. So when his people accepted Islam, the Prophet ﷺ said to them, let the one who has the more of the Quran lead you in Salah. He said, I was the one who has more Quran. And that time I was 6 years old. So his people pushed him in front to lead the Salah. So he will be leading the Salah. To the extent that his clothes will be dropping. The women will say, Jim, our Imam clothes now, not our Imam. Our Imam Salah should be straight. His clothes is falling off his body. So the Imam Amadullah, 6 years old. Among the companions of Allah. 6 years old boy was an Imam. Why? Because he's the best reciter of Quran among. So this is evidence that if all of what we are saying falls on a boy that is just 7 years old, Nuqaddimuhu is the one who is most rightful. We are talking about Ahadiyah, those who have greater rights. We are not saying that if another person leads the Salah, they don't have Salah. But who has a greater right to lead that Salah? Al-Aqrab, amongst the people. Likewise, Waladu Zina. We'd explain Waladu Zina. I think that explanation was straightforward. The scholars say the fact that he is Waladu Zina does not infringe on his right to lead us in Salah if he is Al-Aqra'u min al-Qawm, amongst the people. Then we should proceed with that hadith. He says, فَإِنْ كَانُوا فِي الْقِرَاءَةِ سَوَاءً. If they are all equal in Qira'ah, فَأَعْلَمُهُمْ بِالسُّنَّةِ. Then the one with a greater knowledge of the Sunnah should lead the people in Salah. He has more ahadith, he understands the Salah, he is better than the rest of them in terms of the Sunnah. He should lead the people in Salah. That's why Imam Shawkani said, ثُمَّ الْأَعْلَمُ. Do we find that in our text? ثُمَّ الْأَعْلَمُ. Then in the hadith it says, فَإِنْ كَانُوا فِي سُنَّةِ سَوَاءً فَأَقْدَمُهُمْ هِجْرَةً. If they are equal also in the Sunnah, you have Bukhari, I have Bukhari. You have Muslim, I have Muslim. You know what I mean by ihas? We have Surah Al-Arba, say yes, mashallah, inshallah. In the past, that was how scholars used to speak. Ma'ak al-Bukhari Muslim, takununa. Yes, you have Bukhari and Muslim. Ma'aka. Say Ma'ak al-Quran. You have Quran, say yes. Ma'ak al-Sahihain, say yes. Surah Al-Arba, now. Muslim Ahmad, I know a 6-year-old boy who has 6 books in his mind with the Asani. 6-year-old boy, 6 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Many children now, it is the names of footballers they are memorizing. Baba Kanubia Ona, may Allah protect us. So, you memorize one now. Bulugh al-Maram now. I don't have Bulugh al-Maram. You do have Bulugh al-Maram in addition to your Quran. Bismillah. In it. Alamuhum bis-sunnah could also mean the knowledge of ahadith, generally speaking, and fiqh. Generally speaking. It should lead the people in salah. Then it says, فَإِنْ كَانُوا فِي الْهِجْرَةِ سَوَاءً أو في السنة سواء. If they are all equal in sunnah, Bukhari, yes, Bukhari, Muslim I did, Sunnah al-Arba, now, Muslim Ahmad, Sunnah. You are afraid to mention another book because you are afraid that you will say now again. So what then do we use as a yardstick? So he says, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, فَإِنْ كَانُوا فِي السُنَّةِ سَوَاءً فَأَقْدَمُهُمْ هِجْرَةً. Then the foremost amongst them to make hijrah. Hijrah here has two meanings. The hijrah from Darul Kufr to Darul Islam. From the lands of disbelief to the lands of Islam. The lands of disbelief are those lands where you cannot publicly manifest Islam without evil repercussions. The lands of Kufr are those lands where you cannot publicly manifest Islam without evil repercussions. Those are the lands of Kufr. And the lands of Islam are those lands where you can publicly manifest Islam without any repercussions. You can move from those lands to another place. Move from there. There are some countries now, if a woman is veiling her face, she'll be arrested. Although those things are a matter of time. Their own children too. It's a matter of time. Britain is already feeling it. US is already feeling it. Europe generally is feeling it now. The impact of Islam. In another 15 years, Muslims will be everywhere in Europe. Everywhere. Let them be having two children, okay? We will be having 10. We are coming. We are coming. So hijrah could mean moving from the place of difficulty to manifest Islam to a place of ease of manifest of Islam. The second aspect of hijrah is moving away from sins, repenting. These days we have brothers who used to be guys, they accepted Islam and began to learn Islam. There are many of them, don't be surprised. So who amongst them, if they are equal in Quran, they are equal in Sunnah, who amongst them left home boy first amongst the two? That person should lead the Salah. I hope that the point is clear. When he said sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, فَإِنْ كَانُوا فِي الْهِجْرَةِ سَوَاءً فَأَقْدَمُهُمْ سِنًّا. If they are equal in all of these, فَأَقْدَمُهُمْ سِنًّا. فَأَقْدَمُهُمْ إِذًا. If they are equal in all of these, then the most elderly, or lead the Salah. So that is Haqqiyah with respect to leading the Salah. And the hadith that, apart from this hadith of Abu Mas'ud, that the eldest among the people should lead the Salah, is the hadith of Malik ibn Huwairis again, in which the Prophet said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, فَلْيَا أُمَّهُمْ أَكْبَرُهُمْ. The oldest amongst them should lead them in Salah. See where old came, laying. We didn't find anything again. Look at that. It is when we don't find Quran, we don't find Sunnah, we don't find Hijrah, then we bring the elderly ones in front. Otherwise, the same thing standing behind the Imam. See that now, they say, that we stand there, no talk. When the Imam makes a mistake in Salah, they can't correct it. Those who should stand directly behind the Imam are those who have nubuj, who are matured in the knowledge of Islam. So it can be a little young boy who has this quality. Should be allowed to stand there anymore. The woman say, no. You are pushing the boy backwards. He wants to come forward regarding the deen, and Allah has pushed him forward. You push him backwards. Allah protect us. Then Al-Imam Shawkani says, because of time, he says, وَإِذَا اخْتَلَّتْ صَلَاةُ الْإِمَامِ إِذَا اخْتَلَّتْ صَلَاةُ الْإِمَامِ If the Imam's prayer becomes defective, إِذَا اخْتَلَّتْ Imam's salah has issues, he has loopholes. Salatul Imam كَانَ ذَلِكَ عَلَيْهِ Abu Aisha إِذَا اخْتَلَّتْ صَلَاةُ الْإِمَامِ كَانَ ذَلِكَ عَلَيْهِ That one, he has the repercussions for لَا عَلَى الْمُؤْتَمِّينَ بِهِ It is not against those who are praying by him, that is following him in the salah. The Imam is praying in his salah. In the ruku, he did not say Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. Something is common amongst some brothers. Let me say it. When they read in Salatul Maghrib or Isha, you'll be hearing the Qira'ah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. You'll be something like this. This is Sunnah. Okay. When you read the second stanza of the Salah, the second after the first Tahiyyah, and the stanza for the third rak'ah, before you say Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, you are ruku already. So you know what I say? Did you read Al-Fatiha? Say, okay, I'm saying Fatiha now. So I'm fast to go. Oh, fast to go, and you need to go. Sharing your joke, if it happens that he did not actually read that Fatiha, كَانَ ذَلِكَ عَلَيْهِ لَيْسَ عَلَى الْمُؤْتَمِّينَ بِهِ The problem is only for him, the problem is his. It is not the problem of those who are observing that Salah behind him. I hope that this point is clear. Al-Imam Ibn al-Munzir rahimahullah also mentioned this in his book Al-Awsat, and he cited the hadith of Uqba ibn Amir al-Juhani radiyallahu anhu. That hadith occurs in Sunan Abi Dawud. Al-Imam Ibn Khuzaymah also mentioned the hadith, likewise Ibn Hibban in his Sahih. In it the Prophet said sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Man amma an-nas, whoever leads the people, فَأَصَابَ الْوَقْتِ and he prays at its time, he establishes the Salah, وَأَتَمَّ الصَّلَاةِ and he perfects the Salah. He establishes the Salah at its time, وَأَتَمَّ الصَّلَاةِ فَلَهُ وَلَهُ he has his reward, وَلَهُ they also have their rewards. وَمَنْ انْتَقَصَ مِنْ ذَلِكَ شَيْئًا whoever fails regarding anything, regarding all we have said, whoever fails in all these, he fails regarding the time of Salah, and he fails to perfect his Salah, فَعَلَيْهِ that is against him, لَا عَلَيْهِ it is not against the people. It is against whoever leaves the Salah and begins to fail in his Salah. That's why Imam Shawkani said to us that وَإِذَا اخْتَلَّتْ صَلَاةُ الْإِمَامِ if the Imam's prayer becomes one of loopholes, كَانَ ذَلِكَ عَلَيْهِ those loopholes are against him, لَا عَلَى الْمُؤْتَمِّينَ بِهِ those loopholes are not against those persons that are leading, that he is leading in Salah. What we have read, the scholars have said so much about it. Al-Imam Ibn al-Munzir said, يَدُلُّ هَذَا الْحَدِيث على أن الإمام لا يضره تقصير صلاة على أن المأموم this hadith points that al-Ma'mum, the one praying behind the Imam, لا يضره تقصير صلاة الإمام في صلاته the deficiencies in the Salah of the Imam by the Imam does not affect the person praying behind the Imam. إذا أتى هو بما يجب عليه فيها If the person praying behind the Imam observes those things that are obligatory on him, if since كل مؤد فرض نفسه, because each of them is observing the obligation by himself, ولا يضره تقصير غيره, and so the deficiency of any other person will not affect you because you are doing your own, you are doing it all too. وهذا الحديث, this hadith recited, يدل على إبطال من زعم أن صلاة الإمام إذا فسدت صلاة من خلفه. This hadith proves that those people say that if the Imam's prayer becomes invalid and deficient, then those people praying behind him too, their salah has become invalid and deficient. This hadith is proof that that statement is a wrong statement. They are in error if they think like that. So whoever leads the people in salah, man amman nas, fa'asab al-waqt, whoever leads the people in salah and he does so at the right time, وَأَتَمَّ الصَّلَاةِ, and then he perfects the salah, فَلَهُ وَلَهُمْ, he has his reward, they have their reward. وَمَنْ انْتَقَصَ مِنْ ذَلِكَ شَيْئًا, whoever becomes deficient regarding the time and regarding perfecting his salah in any deed, فَعَلَيْهِ وَلَا عَلَيْهِ, he has his own deficiency upon him, but for the people they don't have any deficiency upon them. We'll stop here inshallah. I hope that the class is clear. Alhamdulillah. We could take a few questions before we leave for the day inshallah. Alaykum salam. Al-Imam al-Bamin is an authentic hadith. We explain. We also explain the connection between that hadith and this hadith. What kind of Baman does the Imam guarantee? The mistakes of the people. There are some mistakes people perform in Salah. Such that, for example, there are two. A person may be in Sajda or a sujood. He thinks that the Imam has raised his head. He raised his head and see that the Imam has not raised his head. He puts his head back. At the end of the day, how many sajda will he have made in that rak'ah? 3. So the Imam is bound, it will cancel by the perfection of the Imam in these kinds of cases. So the Imam guarantees the people here. The same thing regarding Al-Fatiha. He says, La salat al-Imam lam yakra bi-Fatiha al-Kitab. The one who has not read Al-Fatiha al-Kitab does not have salah. You come into the salah when the Imam is reciting Surah Al-Fatiha. Al-Imam al-Bamin, do you understand? From Salah is that we must recite Surah Al-Fatiha and then Surah. You come when the Imam is on Ruku. Al-Imam al-Bamin, do you understand? So these are areas where you have the Imam being the Bamin. A guarantor. Someone who assures you, don't worry, if you make mistake, I will help you take over them. It's one of the benefits of Salatul Jama'ah. And that hadith is at least Hasan. It is wrong to think that it is a weak hadith. I think we discussed it then too. Allahu Alam. Ameen. Now, كن إماما إن جعلوك وكن مؤذنا وإن منعوك. I don't even know it as a hadith. It says, Kun imaman in ja'aluka. Be an imam if you are made an imam. And then it says, Kun mu'azzinan. Be a mu'azzin. Wa imma na'uka. Even if they prevent you, they don't want you to be mu'azzin. Try to be a mu'azzin. The statement is correct because the persons who become imam are those who are pushed forward. Be imam. So we say be imam. But muazzin, if they say don't be muazzin, try to be muazzin. You can struggle to be a muazzin. I think that is the best we can pick from it. But to say whether it's a hadith or not, I don't know. Is asking whether it is authentic or not. I'm saying I don't even know whether it's a hadith. You saw it somewhere. Where? A hadith al-Muqtara. Where? Someone said, it may be a statement, it may not be a hadith. I've not seen anything nearby that. Allahu Akbar. Now, alaykum salam. Not today. How do we bring absolute concentration in Salah? Not here, not today. Not today. But one of them is to learn the Quran and know the Quran. Know the meaning of what you are reading. If you pray behind an imam who is reading according to the meaning of Quran, you will know that you will enjoy that Salah. Other than an imam just reading Quran. I am remembering some things one imam will read that spoils the meaning of the Quran. So sometimes if you try to follow the meaning, you see that the imam is spoiling the reading because of work where he stopped. Let's leave that. Is it permissible for a Muslim woman or a little girl to cut her hair as low as that of a man? If there's a reason for it, maybe because of illness, the hair is cutting off, or any other reason, it should not be for the reason that she wants to look like a man, or she wants to copy one non-Muslim, one chica or something, who goes by a low cut. Don't copy them. So if it is not for these reasons, and a person has a need to cut the hair, perhaps because of dandruff, because of rashes, or any other thing like that, then there is no blame, inshallah. Alaykum salam. We make this the last question for today, inshallah. I mean, will the imam still be a barman for those who missed the salah from the beginning with the imam, but they did not recite Suratul Fatiha behind the imam? Or the imam who didn't recite Fatiha, the rulings are different too. If the imam doesn't recite Fatiha, there is no salah. But if the people leave Fatiha, they have left something that is obligatory. They are committing a sin, but their salah is valid. So that is part of the Daman of the imam too. But it is not complete because they are still committing a sin. Should people recite Fatiha when Imam is reciting another surah? No. If you join the salah, the Imam is reciting any other surah, listen to the recitation. The time that you are encouraged or obligated to recite Suratul Fatiha in salah is when the Imam is reciting his own Fatiha. Recite at that time. We are very extensive on these issues when we treated them. I think we can stop here, inshallah. Subhanaka Allahumma alhamdulillah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.